appreciate me. I've been using Webflow for I think over 6-7 years now. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm also product designer for the last 10-15 years. So my journey actually started when I was about 5. My dad spoiled me with Photoshop. He showed it to me for the first time, and I just fell in love with the freedom it gave me. And from then on, I've been deep in product design. My dad's a designer, photographer himself, but I soon realized that I can design it, but I can't really develop it. You're always dependent on developers and whether they'll be kind enough to bring your ideas to life for you. So over time, I got into WordPress and got into Wix, Squarespace, everything I possibly can. And then finally I got into Webflow, 2015, 2016, got into that. And, it was just like love at first sight. I just realized it's best of both worlds. You can visualize anything. So I didn't see Webflow as a no-code tool, or I saw it as basically Photoshop for the web. Whatever I had in my head, I could visualize it, And so what I've been trying to do in the community is to basically help the community understand that this is not for websites. This is not, don't try to put it in a niche. It is basically a collection of boxes. Everything in Webflow is a box inside of a box inside of a box. So you could repurpose these boxes to create anything. And so what I was very popular for, and back in 2020, when I went public with some of my work, is the PlayStation. That was the first thing I wanted to release. Was like, okay, what can I show you that's just going to make you understand what I'm saying? That this is not, just a website or a landing page builder. And when I showed that, everyone was like, they weren't saying, how'd you do this in Webflow? They're saying, how you do this at all? How can you take a PlayStation and put it in a browser? And that's because I don't see it as I don't conform to the medium. I don't care what medium it is. As long as it's powerful enough to handle my ideas, I'll do it. And the next few months after that was Civilization, which is the biggest web project to date. Over 12,000 individual components, you got interactions, you got leaders, you got maps, everything. So that was like a prototype example. I thought, okay, where can I take it from here? To say, really lock everyone's imagination. It's to build a real game. It's not a prototype anymore. This is real. You can play it, you have beanbags, you have wars, you have a lot of things you can put in.
Sako, it sounds like you've been kidnapped by aliens. Is everyone else able to hear him? No? Yeah, is it happening for everyone? I think you're breaking up quite badly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Would you like to slow down?
Let's see.
Is that
It says connection unstable. It was fine a minute ago, but yeah, network breaking up.
Is it better now, guys?
I still see you on the red side. Maybe try and relog if you want.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, today we're going over anyway. Sorry, everyone. It is a Wednesday that feels like a Monday. Maria, have you got a question already? I'm impressed. Why is your hand up?
It's from before that Mirella never saw.
Oh, I'm really curious. You're gonna have to tell me what you were doing. Okay, Sako's back.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're on green. Good to go.
Sorry about that.
No
So
worries.
I was just saying that sort of my mission in the community is to just show how far you can take no-code tools. It's helped me in my product design career, and I wanted to, I think that the more people break out of their own boxes and what they think of these tools, the more they'll do with it. So one of the best ways we can do that today is build an actual game together. We're going to do this live. You're going to see sort of how we can repurpose these tools. And it's the challenge I'm going to give you is that we're going to do this in like 2 minutes. So this is not going to be a long journey. When you think of how daunting these things can be, it's actually quite simple. So the first thing we're going to do is let's plan what this game is going to be. Let's go all the way back. Let's go to the classic games, right? Text adventure games. You go here, A leads to B, C, D, and so on and so forth. So it's like a choose your own adventure game. So I already built this in a manual way in Webflow a couple of years ago. It was called The End. And the idea, it was a survival horror game. So you have to make choices. You have to read the story, pick the right answer, wrong answer, and so on and so forth. So I found a way to repurpose that in the CMS to actually turn the Webflow CMS into a game engine. So this is a very good example of how you can take something that everyone uses for blogging, let's say, or building articles and so on, and use it to actually make a game. And it's crazy to think, but what I'm about to show you would actually take a ton of development time. Just a few years ago, even now, people are using, custom code and whatever to do this kind of stuff, when in 2 minutes, we're going to do it together. So let's go. Let me share my screen.
This is so exciting because we have some game developers in the community, and I'm very curious to see what they have to say about this.
Okay.
Gabriela is here, so yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and open up. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so here we are. We're in an empty project. Let's go to CMS. So let's understand the anatomy of this game, right? The idea is that you have to, a question comes up, right? Or a proposition that you approach a dragon, and then you have answers A, B, C, or D, right? And then based on that, it leads you to another one. So let's go build it, right? 2 minutes on the clock. So the first CMS we're going to create is called questions. There it is. The question can have a name, it can have a description, right? So let's just give it a description here, multi-line, that's where we put the story, essentially. We have a background image, right? Or just background, wallpaper, whatever it may be. And that's it. Now we're going to go and create an answers. Here we are. And now here we're going to create 2 reference fields. One leads to, or one is the answer. 1 second. So the first one is display in, right? Which question do you want it to appear in? And then once you click it, where does it actually go? So lead to. And then again, these are just reference fields. That's all it is. So that's it. Now we're going to go here and let's go play our game real quick. So this is the game that I originally created. Here we are. So all of this in this game, this was not built with the CMS. This is all built manually, right? Div blocks and interactions. You click here and then the interaction fires up and hides this answer, goes to the next one, right? So let's just play it for a second. We jump in and it says, it feels like your legs are on fire, you're running out of breath and desperately need to rest. There's a small abandoned house ahead where you can lay low. Those things already got your friend, right? So that's in the first question. So we're going to come here, create a new question. We'll just name it 1. Go here and add that description. And that's it. And in the answers, we create a new answer called rush in. So display in number 1, and that needs to lead to the next question. So you can already see where this is going. Now you click on rush in and it says, great, you lock the door behind you, gasping for air. You turn on the lights, searching for solace, and realize so is the dead man in the corner gripping his gun. You hear a river flowing nearby and notice that there's a back door. Bunker in or keep moving? That's the next question. And it has 3 options. So, Claudia, which one do you want to go with? Let's see if you can survive.
Sneak out the back.
Okay, great. Getting killed seems more pleasant than hiding in this bloody room. So you quietly sneak out the back door and reach the river. You hear footsteps and see a boat dock nearby. Take it downstream or take cover?
Let me see. And see a boat. Well, take it downstream. Jump on the boat.
Okay. You dash towards the boat and realize it's tied down. A gruff bearded man appears out of the woods with a rifle pointed at your head. Step back, nice and easy. You turn helplessly with your hands held high. I don't want any trouble. I'm being chased. We can't outrun those things. The man looks at you with a loss in his eyes and sorrowfully replies, I know, I'm sorry, son. He gets in the boat, shoots it free, and rows away, leaving you on the shore to buy him time. The forest rumbles, you have no strength left to run, and you miserably think to yourself, if I could just go back. You lost. So we're back where you started, right? So that's the whole game.
That's amazing. Is there a way that the images can change as well? I mean,
that's exactly what we did in the CMS. So each question has its own image. So when you go from one to the other, it automatically switches. So now we have Russian, right? So the next option here would be catch your breath, sneak out the back, and grab the gun. We just have to add 3 more. That's it. So sneak out the back, and this one leads somewhere else. So we just have to, create the questions, create the answers. So here, we need to, once we come in, we have to create the second question, which is this, and we have this whole, keep on or whatever, right? Add that in. Boom. Now we have 2. So this first one, Russian, displays in number 1 and leads to number 2. And now let's just get to the second part. So we have a little bit of a game going on here. So catch your breath, sneak out the back, grab the gun. Catch your breath. Display in number 2, and then this needs to lead to number 3. Catch your breath, sneak out the back. Again, we're displaying this in number 2. And grab the gun. Display in number 2. That's it. So let's go add the background image. So we can just add whatever, just something for now.
Which one was the right one, out of curiosity?
Okay, where do we have this an image we can use? Okay, it doesn't matter.
Grab the gun.
Let's just jump in. So let's go. Yeah, so let's go into the CMS page here. So questions is going to be where the game is, basically, right? So I'm just going to create a div block. I'm going to set this to 100 VH, nice and simple, and we can just make it dark and ominous.
It's giving me Stranger Things vibes.
Yeah, so it's actually funny you say that, but I have the Stranger Things font. So I'm going to go into the...
That's my designer eye.
Settings. Exactly. So let's go into the settings, and let's go upload that font real quick. Let's go into Protocore. Let's go into Projects, Stranger Things. Here we go, and here's your font. There we go. And now we can use this font to tell our story. So the beauty of this system of using the CMS is that you essentially have to design the game one time. You don't have to repurpose interactions. You don't have to redesign every single level, right? The CMS becomes your levels. And the CMS has a limit of 10,000 items, which means you could technically have 10,000 levels. This could become, you could take any classic game, from the back in the day, and you could bring it all into Webflow.
But I'm thinking it's a great opportunity for storytelling as well. Like, say you want to give people an experience on, or even tell a story on our community, for example. You can create an interactive, immersive kind of storytelling around it.
Well, I actually want to release, I'm preparing to release the Tailmaker, as I call it, as a full clonable. So the idea is that you can make your own story game. And
That's
the
amazing.
game that I'm going to be bringing in is actually the Cave of Time. Many people don't know, but this was the very first choose your own adventure game. It was a book. So I have the entire original book. So this can all be the game. You can literally read, play to your heart's content. It's also a nice nostalgic callback to these classic games.
It is fantastic. I'm blown away. How did you even come up with the idea of like transforming CMS into a game?
To be honest, it's the automation side of it. You kind of ask yourself, okay, like if I can automate this much, and I'm just wondering why this isn't loading. this is a little weird. Let's try again. Yeah, the idea actually came over when I was thinking of doing a matchmaking game. So that's where Lord of the Rings comes in. I'll show you, I'll give you guys a little sneak peek of that. I know everyone's been talking about it in the community, waiting for that. MemberStack 2.0. MemberStack 2.0 is actually about to come out. So I'm working closely with the MemberStack team. But that's another example of how, you know, like the whole membership side of it, or managing levels, like, you know, going from level to level in the game, you can actually use MemberStack for that. So the purpose of these projects, again, is to kind of promote, show you how the whole banana comes together, what you can do with them. So for me, it's not about just quickly, you know, releasing some clonables. I take my time with it, but once it comes out, you know, it needs to make a statement. You need to kind of realize, like, okay, like this can change the way I look at my projects. I'm sorry, guys, this is taking a little while to load. I think, I don't know if it's my connection or Webflow is just totally hanging on me. Maybe it doesn't want me to make a game. Let's try this incognito.
The good old tricks.
Yeah. So here we go. But yeah, actually, when the idea first came to me and I pulled it off, it was just the ease of it. I realized, like, okay, I can do a lot of stuff with this. We can take it a whole other level.
Definitely. Do you think Webflow memberships will add to that?
No, I don't, actually. I know people have already used it, and it's actually quite limited in scope and features, and it's kind of dropping the gun, to be honest. I was personally expecting a lot more. I actually reached out to the Webflow team. I suggested that I use their membership system for Lord of the Rings. It is the first feature-length game. It's actually 2 to 3 hours of gameplay, so it's a proper game.
Wow.
It's not just a prototype. So again, the reason why I can put so many hours of gameplay in is because it's all automated. This is getting, sorry guys, I wanted to show you this, but it's really not loading. So, but let me show you kind of how these pieces can.
Yay, my favorite.
Yeah. So yeah, for those who haven't seen it, so here, you know, this is an example of how, you know, visually, if you show this to somebody, they wouldn't even think it was Webflow or anything else. It's just like, wow, this is in the browser. I can build this. So.
Right, Mark.
You have like full presentation, right? Let's go in deeper. So here's an example of, this is an Elvish Typer that I put together in Webflow. This is going to be like a mini game inside of Lord of the Rings. So when you type, it actually types in Elvish, not in English. So you have a full Elvish Typer, right? So how is that? All you're doing is you're mirroring what's being typed here, up here. It's just a mirror, simple FinSuite tool. But what's up here is that this text is basically using the original Elvish font. That's it.
That is so cool.
Yeah, but it captures your imagination. So many times in product design and this type of work, it's really just a matter of repurposing what you have, understanding how to use these tools, combine them as individual ingredients, right? Let's take it a step further. Here's a hieroglyph. It's a flame, and in the background you have Egyptian hieroglyphs. So the idea here was that if you wanted to build like a game or just like a cool idea here was that you can search for an item in the background and stuff, right? This is a GIF of a flame that's just moving around the screen, and on top of that flame is a PNG of the hieroglyphs. It's again 2 minutes to do it, but the moment you look at it, you're like, how did you do that? So it's
I thought it was your cursor. I thought it was your mouse moving around.
It is my mouse.
Ah, okay.
It is my mouse. My mouse is hidden. It's just an interaction that I've set up. So
yeah,
it's replacing my cursor essentially. But the idea here is that, again, you can just put two components together and you have this whole new concept. And I could use this for gaming too, where this could be like, let's say, an Indiana Jones, like secret level. Let's say I go in and I look for a component, I find my hieroglyph here, and I click on it, and it unlocks another door or something, right? And then you could take the same effect, the same concept here with flame, and you can apply it to Lord of the Rings. Maybe you want to find a secret in the image, like this. So now you can actually read the image, right? So all you're doing here is you're having two images, the same image twice. One is with the text and one is without it. And you stack them on top of each other. And you're saying, you're creating a photo mask effect, and that's it. But it does the job. You're capturing people's imagination. So let's take it now to the full experience. This is Lord of the Rings. This is the opening menu in the game. You come in and you can just, it's the full experience. You go in, click on begin, and it always starts off with a map. So I'm just showing you like an early build here. You start off and it just drops you into the map of Middle Earth. And so the way the game starts is you actually have to find your way and find the memory where you're remembering, you're tracing Frodo's journey through Middle Earth. So these are all individual levels. So you hover over it. This is another level right here in Rohan. This is like one of the last levels in Mordor. So total, the game is about 30 levels altogether. And each level, you're unlocking these memories. And the way you unlock them is like this. Each chapter begins with the official Lord of the Rings, insignia. You come in, boom, and you get a custom quote each time from the Shire or from whichever chapter of the game you're playing. And here you go. This is all powered by the CMS entirely. The background right now is just not
that's
loading.
mind-blowing. I can't imagine. Like, if I didn't know this was built on Webflow, I'd be like, oh, this is Unreal or JavaScript. I don't know.
Thank you. So when we come in, the point of this game, a point of Memories of Middle Earth, that's why it's called Memories of Middle Earth, is that you're essentially, let me just mute this here. You're essentially remembering your journey. So when Frodo, basically, I don't know if there's any Lord of the Rings fans here. I'm a big fan myself.
Mm-hmm.
Lord of the Rings is a book written by Frodo and Bilbo Baggins, his uncle, right? So it's at the end of their journey that they write it, and then it's called There and Back Again, a story by Bilbo Baggins, and then Lord of the Rings by Frodo Baggins. So how did they write that book?
I thought it was somebody called Tolkien. No, I'm joking.
No, Tolkien.
I'm joking.
Yeah, it's like, so at the end, so the idea is that this is the unwritten chapter of the movies, where it's like, those 4 years that they sat down and they wrote the books. So the first part of the game, the first chapters that you play, is all 3 movies. And by remembering them, by matching these memories, see, I just correctly matched it. So this memory now, I get to watch that particular part of the movie in HD. So you're
cool.
unlocking each memory like this. It's like the ultimate, road down memory lane. So
you could get paid by actual, production companies for, create a game based on their films. I mean, this is fantastic.
Why not? I mean, you remember those cheesy JavaScript games and stuff, like the Flash games that I used to make for movies, like just 5-10 years ago. Like this, you could use a Webflow to do that kind of stuff, right? So actually, in the beginning, you'll remember when I clicked here, see, I remember where this was. So here it is. So this, sorry, I think it was this one. Here we go. Boom. Now it's this memory. So chapter 1 is basically the first, let's say 30 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And each one is going to be 1 or 2 minutes of that game. So once you go through all of them, you finish chapter 1, you have an unlockable. I've also incorporated 3D, figurines and things like that, like you can unlock, and it goes straight into your hall of kings, basically. Mm-hmm. That's your profile, basically. So the whole game is saved. You can track your progress thanks to MemberStack and go through hours and hours of gameplay. So that's how far we can take this. And then you have your full menu here, go back to your map, go to your profile, so on and so forth.
That's fantastic. I love the fact that obviously they disappear once you unlock them, and I just can't wait for you to release, the learning game and anything that you release, because it's just fantastic. And I think I spent so much money on courses that I'm still you know, I still haven't started, and I'm sure Maria can support me on this. But like, we spent so much money on courses, and I think I just need you, Sako, to create the perfect learning game for me to actually learn something.
Well, actually, that brings me to my favorite part of the game is actually the 404 screen. It's actually the eye of Sauron following you and saying, "I see you." So you can just take off your ring and get back to the game. But it's funny. It's funny you say. It's funny you say that. Let me turn my screen sharing off for a minute. It's funny you say that about the learning side of it, because that's what we were talking about with Mirella just earlier. Is, you know, like, how can we teach the community to do it exactly as it was done? Not like through a video tutorial where there's a lot of sponsorship and other, you know, things involved in video, but like just hardcore, teach me, show me how it was done, right? What's the easiest way to teach you? It's to get on a call and just say, click here, click there, then click there. So the platform that I've been working for the past 2 years on with my partner Mitso in Greece is we've been building a platform called Restep. And what Restep does is it actually records all my clicks and actions that I'm doing, saves it in one JSON file, and then you can run that JSON file through a simple extension in Chrome. You can just open up a blank Webflow project, and it starts repeating all those steps in your browser. It does what I did for you. You don't have to watch a video. You don't have to read about it. You don't have to learn how to do it. It just does it for you. Just click next step, and it executes each thing I've done. So technically right now, let's say after the session, maybe you reached out to me and you said, hey, like, so how can I make that game again? Can you show me how we did it in Webflow? And I could just literally send you a Restep with 10 or 20 steps showing automatically. It starts setting up the CMS for you and showing you how it's done. You can repeat it, go back, do it again and again, as many times as you need to learn. So that is really, in my opinion, the future of learning. And that's the way that we can teach these type of really advanced techniques when we talk about, you know, building games and stuff like that. But even beyond that, think about CGI. Think about what Pixar and ILM and all these companies are doing. It's such advanced techniques that took decades for them to learn how to do. And imagine how difficult it is for them to teach that to their own staff. Like, they hire another person. How do you teach them? Well, let me sit down and do a master class and all this kind of stuff. Not necessary anymore. Build it once, share it 1,000,000 times. And the beauty of this, the real value of that product, is that it's priceless. Really think about it. If you make a video or a tutorial, you can price that and say, well, okay, comparatively with other tutorials, it might cost $100 or $700. But to get into my head and to be able to extract exactly how this guy built that, or how this woman built this amazing project, or whatever it may be, that's impossible right now. The only way you would do that is by getting me to talk about it. But to actually have it as a file that is not piratable, you can't share it, you can't put it on Pirate Bay or whatever. It's like it's only in Restep. That's something that you could charge any amount of money for. So this opens up a whole new possibility for teachers, learners, creators to share their knowledge in a way they've never been able to before. And usually when they share it as a book, a walkthrough, a video, there's always mistakes. There's always a chance that that person's going to read it or watch it or hear it and then make a mistake and go back and forth trying to learn it for hours and hours. Here, you can take my Restep, no matter, even if it's 10,000 steps, 10,000 clicks that this person did to make this project, and it will execute it every single time perfectly, the way I would do it, exactly as I did it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what's more valuable, the pyramids or how it was made? We have the pyramids, but you're never making another pyramid again. That process is gone. That knowledge, the person who made that, is gone. So my fear is that a lot of the great work that many of us in this community and many people here as well are creating, that the process of how those things were done are gone forever. That person, unless they are kind enough to create a video tutorial or share it like during a session like this, it's gone. You'll find the clonable and maybe you'll figure it out, but you'll never know what was in their mind, what they've learned. Like, think about a Webflow project, right? Not to go on a rant, but I'm very passionate about this. Think about the way people make projects. It's not the same. my approach to starting a Webflow project or how I execute is very different from how someone else does it. That's why, like, you can take two Webflow templates and they're so different in terms of how they're made and structured. You know, sometimes it's a nightmare. You get a template, you're like, I would rather just rebuild it myself. Like, I don't want to use this template. It's so badly done, right? But even bad is a subjective term. That person thought of the project in this way. They structured it this way. And this other person maybe had a totally different way of doing it, like the CMS. Millions of people have created blogs with CMSs. This person created a game. Right? So it's just another way of thinking about it. Well, now the real value that I'm giving you with a restep is not the clonable. It's not even the project. It's my way of thinking. So when you run that restep a few times, you'll start to realize there are methods, tricks, approaches, even the actual step I take from, you know, do I go to the element first or do I go to interaction first? Mm-hmm. After I clicked here, what shortcut did I use? That's the kind of knowledge that no one has been able to share until now, really effectively. So this kind of replaces the need for video tutorials. If anything, videos are going to be more for introductions, maybe like sharing my feelings about the project, things that, you know, you can't really capture in a click. But everything else is going to be super automated. And that's really where we're trying to take this. So we're planning to release in a few weeks.
That's fantastic. And I'm just thinking, you know, back in the days when people used to follow their parents' footsteps and, you know, it's just like following the same kind of thinking. And as you're saying, it is priceless because you can just watch as many tutorials and videos as you like. And then you're always going to skip some bits because first off, it's hard to do it in two screens or for whatever reason, but having the following the footsteps kind of add on to it really will make it so powerful and finally engraved into people's memories. Does it have, so instead of showing you like what you do step by step, does it also give me the option to say, for example, a section is highlighted and it says like click here, like can I follow the steps?
That's
can
exactly
I do
how it works,
right? Because that's also muscle memory.
On the screen.
That's fantastic. I'm just like, sign me in.
It's actually three modes. The first is just automated. It runs it for you. So this is great for people who want to save their workflows. So you can just save it and then click run and it'll execute those 60 steps, 100 steps very, very quickly in like under 60 seconds. It'll do it for you. Mm-hmm. That's the first way of using Restep. The second way is you just click next step and you can see it doing it for you in your browser. So it just builds the project for you essentially. It tells you what it's doing. Like, okay, now I'm creating a div block and it goes and shows you how it did it. Mm-hmm. Or the third way is it indicates where you should click and you can do it if you want to build your muscle memory. So, you know, this is the same thing that comes up in the Webflow forums, bubble forums all the time. It's like, where do I click? Do I click here? How do I set it to absolute? It's like, you never have to ask that question again. It's like, I can create one simple restep called using positioning in Webflow, and it would have everything from absolute to relative to whatever, and it would just show you. So it just cuts out 90% of what forums are for, basically.
That's fantastic. Like, can you come back once once that's released and we can like follow the steps and create something together? Because actually, I can give
you a little peek here. This is actually Restep right here. So you can sign in.
I think I signed up to the beta.
Yeah. So here we're actually just a couple of weeks away. We're just testing the engine, making sure everything's running. So here you just select the project. Jump in. Here it shows you all the steps, all the chapters, you know, designing your page, how to set up your project. Here are some reviews you can leave right on the right. You know, how many steps are involved in this particular project. You know, let's say it's an introduction to Webflow. Mm-hmm. And you can just run it like I told you earlier, or teach me. And teach me is where it actually guides you through, right? Or you can just bookmark this, for example, just dive in. So it's impossible to get lost.
It's fantastic.
Very, very easy.
It's fantastic. It's a brilliant idea, great product. I love it.
Thank you. And ironically, at the last second, the Webflow decided to work with us. So we do have we have this page finally working.
Oh,
so let me just,
you see, Webflow always comes around. Webflow always comes around.
So yeah, just to bring it full circle, guys, give me 1 second. We'll have our game running for you. Here we are.
I'm
Make
gonna
text
say
white.
hi to Jeff and Harshit in the chat on YouTube.
Hey guys. So here we go. Let's go change the font. Let's go find our Stranger Things font. Here we go. Boom. And now we can call this, we can give this the description as we had earlier. See? Just make it smaller now. There we go. Nothing fancy. Just break that width in. And now let's go to question number 1. So this is question number 1, right? Now we're going to put a collection inside of it called answers. And we're just going to set it to display, filter, display in. There it is. And now I'm going to put our little heading in there. Let's call it an H3. And we have the display in name. Or in this case, there we go, rush in. So this is supposed to be actually a button. So we can do it just to keep it simple. Just put that in a link block. There we go. And this link block leads to the next question, leads to the current answer. Or actually, sorry, leads to, there we go. So let's publish and let's play our game. So all the interactions, like the page intros, when the page enters, fade in the text, fade out, you can just do that. You can set it up one time and then you have your game. So it comes in, I click on rush in, and boom, leads me to the next questions. So that simple flow that we created, you could create an industry class text adventure game with interactions, with flowing from section to section. GTA, for example, the parallax effects that I used over there. You could combine all of these things to tell just an. So building a game in Webflow.
That's amazing. And can you share the project with us?
Oh yeah, sure, of course.
That'd be cool, so we can get our hands dirty a little bit. But it's fantastic. I think everyone here is super excited and blown away by everything that's been happening in this hour. Does anyone have any questions in the community? Please use the emoji, put your hands up, even if you just want to say how amazing this is, because I could see you in the chat being overexcited, and I agree with you all. So let's see. Let me have a look. Oh, Emily's here. Hi, Emily. And Veronica. Right. Where's Gabriella? I want to hear the impression of a game developer. Gabriella. Spotlight.
Oh, I'm blown away from this. I was just writing knowing this earlier would have saved me a lot of time. Like we built a lot of B2B projects for clients, and often those clients want their games to be browser games. So we have to make the game in Unreal Engine and then build it to be HTML5 and then include it in one of our websites. But Unreal does some weird stuff where it has to download some things before actually starting the game. And that's terrible for the user experience of the client. So knowing that the entire game could have been built with Webflow, but now I know it. This will be useful. Thank you.
I put it in the chat. Oh my God, thank you guys. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Actually, to take it even a step further, Gabriella, since you're a game designer, I'm just acting like one. You're an actual game designer. So but
oh, don't worry, I'm not. I'm just a programmer.
Close enough. You're much closer than I am. But actually, I took it a step further where I thought, okay, how can we take this game and make it multiplayer? So you can actually combine Zapier. Yes, you can do that. So the idea was, let me show you. This is kind of, you might like this. Maybe I'm getting a little nerdy here, but
are you giving away too much? I'm so excited. I'm like, yeah, give us more.
Here,
give us more.
Check this out. So this is like the test game I was creating. So the idea is that when you come into the page here, you give an answer, you type an answer, and then you ask a question and type an answer. So when you publish this, you're essentially creating your own question, giving an answer for it, and creating an answer for the existing question. So the existing question would appear here, and it would say, how would you answer this question? So what's happening is people can come in and they can all submit their own questions and answers. And the moment you create like sign, like you're creating a book, it essentially goes and creates that new question. So everyone is creating in real time and jumping into their own answers. And eventually that story becomes a game of, finish the sentence, right? Where it's like, okay, Claudia, you can start this, story. Like, there was a bear in the bush and it jumped out. And then Sako, continue the story. Then what happens? Well, then after that, I found out I was actually Godzilla and I stomped on that bear. It's like you can just take this story in all kinds of directions. So now you have a multiplayer game, and that will be the first multiplayer game in Webflow. So it's not really about me wanting to do games. It's more about breaking the mold. And I think game design is probably the best test for a product designer there can be, because it requires every discipline. You have to think about interactivity, engaging the mind. There has to be dopamine effects. There has to be, serotonin. You have to think about sadness, happy. What can I do to get this person to come back? And these are all things a product designer needs when you're building a website or when you're building anything. It's like, how do I keep them engaged, right? So you can take those same rules and apply it to a landing page, apply it to anything else. So the best lessons I've learned is from games. And that's why very early on in my career, I wanted to be a game designer, right? It's like, think about Civilization's, about Civilization's menu interface. It's such a complicated game when you think about it. Like, how did that UI expert put together that UI to even like house all of these buttons and experiences? So if you can, that's probably the most complicated thing you can design, is a UI for a game, because this has to engage the user, so many millions of people, in the same way. You have to make sure they feel the same way about your game. So if you can learn from that, you can definitely build a website.
That's fantastic. And I feel like we're looking at a Webflow website, but in 4D, just like when the 4D cinemas came out. This is just like a whole new experience. And I agree with you. The most important lessons have been taught to me by games, video games. My survival skills are all down to video games. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Totally agree. Well, thank you so much, Sako. Does anyone here have any questions for Sako? Maria is moving on her chair, but she's smiling. No questions?
It was awesome. I didn't know what to expect, but it was awesome.
I think that's what the surprising factor as well, that we weren't quite sure what to expect, and we were just like gifted with this amazing talk today. Absolutely. I loved it. Everyone here loved it. Thank you so much, Sako. Please do come back again. We can't wait to see all the amazing things that you release. I'm a big fan of yours. Let's keep in touch, and once you start having your first footsteps, please do count us in, or count me in at least. I want to try it for sure, and if you want to come back and just walk us through like a hands-on with your product, you're more than welcome to. It's our pleasure, it's an honor to have you. So
likewise, thank you, and thanks for all my work, guys. Say it again.
We love to be guinea pigs in here.
Yes, but for the good stuff. I'd love
you to be our first creators. Please be our first creators. I think simplifying education is probably one of the best things you can do, and I don't think there's enough strides in education. It's usually just in many countries they're still learning like it's 1942. It's just very backwards. And actually, two of our developers are from Nigeria. And, you ask them why they're so passionate about Restep. It's like, well, because if we had Restep right now, we would be learning. Like I could teach my whole town how to learn these tools, or in China, where I'm right now in Shanghai. Many of these tools don't even get popular here because they're just not available in their language. So it's localization in most cases. So with Restep, it doesn't matter what language you speak. It tells you where to click and you click.
It's for
That's the
anyone.
way to learn.
But it's so powerful. And I was, as you were explaining it and talking about it, I was already thinking like, oh, you know, I've built a school here at Floxies, and I've been trying on ways on how to like use that school. I've been in contact with the education team at Webflow, but it was always a matter of, do we come up with a course, another course? Do we offer another course? There's so many out there. But I think we might have just found the product we need.
I think if you, not to toot our own horn, but yeah, I think creating, we are looking for companies to exclusively create Resteps. Like FinSuite, Flowbase, a lot of these companies that are very popular already, and they're leading the community. I know FinSuite, for example, the reason they've been creating client first and all these things is to teach the community better, but it's like just releasing a template isn't actually teaching. You're just making it a little easier to make it more accessible, but I still don't know how this stuff works half the time. And I'm definitely, most people are not going to go read the entire client first, documentation. They want to go like, why don't you show me how you actually, use REMs? Show me how REMs are used. Don't tell me how REMs are used. So I think the show don't tell is becoming so popular. And I would love, for example, to see, like, I was talking to Doc Williams, for example, shout out to Doc, about, how many things he's been showing in videos, where it's like, if you just put that in a Restep format, it would have been awesome. It's like, now they can listen to what you're talking about and do it with you live. Like, imagine if we were all building the same thing together. I just gave you access to the Restep. I just shared the one link with you, and it just fired up in your browser, and you're like, okay, now I'm learning how to make the game with Sako, instead of listening to Sako build it, right? Or his Webflow isn't working right now, so let's wait 10 minutes until it's back online. It's like, you could have already built it 5 times if you wanted, So I would definitely love to see what you guys would create with it. But yeah, I think it's the thing with us was, it wasn't, we created like a library of projects people could learn from, but then immediately everyone wanted to create their own. So we had to, you can't keep up with that kind of demand. It's like, you can't be picky, like, okay, we'll build 10 for FinSuite and 15 for Flowbase. It's like,
well, it can be anything. I mean, you can open up this to every industry. It could be a workshop on how to create anything, a blog, or I don't know, even a cooking show. Like, yeah, I mean, follow the steps.
Imagine being able to design exactly the way Johnny Ive does.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing masterclass.com video tutorials, but like, imagine if you could actually, he opens up Photoshop and then he clicks here. Like, that's just magic to me. It's like, I'm doing exactly what Johnny Ive is doing, So anyways, I can go on forever, guys, but it's a beautiful thing. I'd love to share it with you soon.
We very much appreciate your dad for introducing you to Photoshop when you were 5.
Thank you, guys.
Love that. Well, please, let's keep in touch. Say it again, a huge fan of yours. I love everything that we talked about today. But yeah, thank you so much again for coming here at Floxies, for showing us. I'm kind of like, I do the same thing. So I try to learn these things. And we had, for example, Harshit that's in the chat right now. I asked him, like, can you come and teach us how to use client first? Because as you're saying, yeah, I can read the documentation, or can I? But unless I see how it works and until I try it, it's never going to stick in my head. And I think this is just going to be, just making knowledge accessible to most, at least. If not all.
Just to address that, but you made such a good point that, it's like, if I just saw it, I'd probably remember it better. And so many people are visual learners. And that's why, like, I did consider doing a YouTube channel and all this kind of stuff. And I realized, like, you're not actually fixing the problem. You're just, maybe your delivery could be a little better than the next YouTuber, but you're basically stuck doing the same thing. So
right.
I realized, like, what is the best thing I can, my last contribution to the no-code community. And that's Restep. So all my projects, I haven't been really releasing much. I've just been very quiet, and I just want to push everything into Restep. So whatever clonables, civilization, anything I've built is all going to be courses that you can learn for free. And let's see if that actually works and people learn better. maybe the 10,000 steps might be a little daunting. I don't know. we'll see.
Well, maybe that could be a challenge. You know, it's like Runtastic by Adidas. You're going to have like the 10,000 steps by Sako. So
Maria is going to create the most complicated restep of all time. You know, she's going to be like, let me just set 50,000 steps, you know, just to, who is this Sako, you know?
The 10,000 steps sounds so funny. Like, move your left leg, move your right leg.
Technically, you could just stack up 1,000 steps of nothing and then make someone run. You know, like it reminds me of The Sims. You know, in the Sims game where they create walls around the character and they just make them stuck there forever. It's like they become a ghost eventually.
I usually just have them sit by the fireplace on very cheap chairs.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and then we all know what happens next.
The worst suggestion. Yeah, exactly. The worst suggestion that we received is actually for an April Fool's joke. We thought what we're going to do is we're going to take all the Webflow bugs and make that a course, so you can just run every bug there is in Webflow, and then actually that funny joke became an actual feature, because now it's like, hey, you can actually help the developers repeat those errors. It becomes an automation tool now. So anyways.
Of course. We had a really nice message in the chat by Brianna, and she says, these are the problems that I've been finding with tutorials. I love the way you've come up with solutions for these issues. Great job.
That's awesome, guys.
And then lots of people are like in love with everything. Everyone's loving in the chat. It was so cool. It was great. But yeah, everyone, you blew my mind, honestly, says Lima. But yeah, we're all, you know, blown away. Thank you so much, Sako. Go, Maria, before we
remember what I wanted to say before the 10,000 steps. Yeah. I got like sidetracked.
Please
I was thinking that sometimes you need a different option kind of for things, because maybe something for me is simple, so I want to go there and see like the specific thing or read it, or some other times I want to watch it, and some other times I'm like, dude, I don't get this. Yeah. Like attributes, sometimes attributes fits with attributes are like, I take it step by step. I'm good. I'm the kind of person that reads manuals. I love it.
Just show me one time.
And I'm like,
just show me one time.
I'm missing a step. What am I doing wrong? Like, show me.
But see, that's funny. You just said that. Like, I'm missing one step. And see, that's the thing. You never have to miss that step again. Yeah. It's there. And Joe himself, if you miss a step, it's Joe's fault. So now there's no chance of you making that mistake, because technically Joe created that restep. It's like, hey man, go fix this. And actually, for those wondering, like, just real quick, why, you know, some of these things can get complicated, is like when you're trying to automate Webflow, you're essentially taking the whole UI of Webflow and you're basically connecting each one of those elements to your UI and to your programming language, essentially. And Webflow on the back end is actually so complicated and so stitched together in some cases that you would assume that, okay, take this button and just take the ID of that button and put it in Restep, and then Restep Creator knows what to do. Except it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't even know what you're clicking on, or it doesn't work at all. So it's been 1 year of basically rebuilding Webflow inside of Restep to reconnect it. And then when people from Bubble reach out, they're like, can you bring Bubble into Restep? I'm like, that's going to be an absolute nightmare.
I think you just you might have just opened the Pandora box.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like the what's crazy about it is, now that you've mapped Webflow into it, you also have to think about, okay, how is someone going to use this creator? Like, it has to be so intuitively obvious. Like, okay, step 1, I map it out. Step 2, I map it out, right? So Maria can create her 50,000 step restep. They have to make it really easy for her to annoy the rest of us. so that's why I think, like, just thinking about that process and how someone would use it on a regular basis is basically like game design all over again. Like, in the case of Restep, you'll notice in the prototype I showed you, there's really nowhere else to go. It's like, you come to the discover screen, select the game you want to play, like an iPhone, essentially, right? There's no instructions. It's just like, click the app, use the app. So you click on a recourse, go to Restep, and run. You know, so it's 3 steps to learn anything, essentially. And that's how you break away any need to learn the language, any need to even learn Webflow. It's like, just show me the damn thing. Like I tried, you know, to Maria's point, I tried attributes the first time and I was like, some of this stuff just could be, you know, like it's a little simpler. If you just automatically just showed me where the freaking paste it in, I wouldn't have to come and read the documentation again. So anyways, we'll definitely, I'm excited to hear, Maria, actually, you know, in the future, what kind of resteps you would actually need. That's such a good point. Like, is it attributes that confuses you? Is it interactions? You know, like there's such a world of learning out there.
I'm in the FinSuite Pro group, and the same questions always come up. And it's always attributes and nesting collections. And we had the same thing with Aviv. And we couldn't figure it out. And then suddenly we fixed it, and I was like, okay, what did we do differently? So it's amazing because retracing it and fixing and getting to understand it, even if it's you know, just playing around and then you did like, I don't know, this amazing slider, and then you have no idea how you did it. I came back to a parallax CMS thing I did, and Ando was trying it, and I was like, he was asking me something. I was like, dude, I created like 6-7 months ago. I don't remember what I did or how I built this. So it would be awesome for me to go back and be like, okay, what did I do here and why?
Or if you're thinking about customer support or you're trying to take it a step further, that customer support agent could just understand your problem, go create a quick restep and send you a link and say, here's how you do it. Right. So it's like, cut out the talking and start doing, you know, like, let's do it together. So thanks guys again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sako. Looking forward to everything coming up. All right. Thank you all for being here. And
Bye,
I'll see you next week. Next week we have a talk with Ben, who will be talking about Tango, which is another tool that kind of records your steps as well, but it writes them down in a form of like a tutorial. So it records your screen and your clicks and everything, and then it writes it down for you as a tutorial. So looking forward to that as well.
Awesome.
All right. I'll see you all soon, and see you next week. Take care.
Bye guys.
Bye. And thank you so much, you two people, for being here. Sorry about the delay today. And thank you, Somos Webflowers, for this amazing shirt that they sent to me. I absolutely love it. All right. I'll see you all next week. Thank you so much, Harshit. Nice to see you here with us. Take care.